Ms. Clarkson, hi, how are you?
Hi, Juan. Hi. Doing okay. How are you today?
I'm doing well. So, like Jada said, let's just jump right into this conversation. So, I wonder if you can tell us a little bit about what you do. I wonder if you can tell us a little bit about the Maryland Higher Education Commission. What is it, and what kind of work does the organization do?
So, the Maryland Higher Education Commission, we are responsible for all of higher ed, including colleges, universities, career colleges, and community colleges. We're the we do the regulation for these um, entities in the state of Maryland. And we also are responsible for, we have our own scholarships, grants, and financial aid. And that we give out to students that are in the state of Maryland.
You said, the Maryland Higher Education Commission is all about higher ed. So I know FAFSA probably comes up a lot in the conversations that you have, not only amongst each other within the organization, but in the students that you are talking to as well. I wonder if you can just explain for our listeners who may not be college students and may not have applied, within the last however many years, explain what is the free application for federal student aid, and just tell us exactly what it is and what it does.
So, what FAFSA, or as you said, the free application for federal student aid, is an app on a free online application that students can go online and apply for various types of aid, including loans, grants, scholarships, and work study. And we encourage all students to go online. The application is still open. As you mentioned earlier, there is a new form. It's more user friendly. So we definitely encourage students, all students, no matter if you think you may not qualify, if you think you may not have the grades or the financial need, we encourage everybody to go online and fill out that application.
Now, I wonder if you can tell us exactly how does the FAFSA determine what kind or how much aid a student gets?
So it's based on a lot of different criteria. The best way to see what all it's based on is by visiting by visiting federal aid, sorry, wrong address. I'm sorry. studentaid.gov/FAFSA, FAFSA. It'll give you all the criteria and qualifications that you need to qualify for the different types of aid that I mentioned earlier. I can just talk a little bit to you about the different types of aid that are available. We have grants, which is free money. Students do not have to pay that back unless they um, unenroll from school or they don't meet different service obligations that may be required of them. Um, we have scholarships, which are also free money that are merit based, talent based, and field of study based. We have loans, which are required to be paid back with interest. And so it's very important to take a look at that and see what the requirements are for payback once you either unenroll from school or complete your education. And then there's work study programs that you can work and pay for college while you're working.
Now, I heard you kept saying we. I wonder, is this all those things that you just listed out there? Are these things that are available to students through FAFSA or the Maryland Higher Education Commission, or both?
So it's really both. So again, we encourage the students to fill out the FAFSA form because not only does the federal government use the FAFSA form to determine federal aid, many colleges and states also use FAFSA to determine what type of aid is available to the students through their institutions and through state grants, scholarships, and work study programs.
And so not only does the FAFSA, unlock federal money from the federal government that you can get as a student, it kind of opens a way for other pools of money from other institutions. If you're applying to school, depending on what that student aid report on your FAFSA says, they may give you a little bit more money, or they may offer you work study, or they may offer you a higher loan or anything like that to help pay for your school. Am I getting that correct?
That is correct. And what maybe a lot of people don't know, they may think that this money is only available for people that are attending a four-year college or university. But the truth of the matter is, this money is open and available. The form is open and available for free, again, to students that are at 4-year institutions, 2-year institutions, community college, and career schools as well.
Okay, awesome, amazing. And I wonder, I mean, you kind of said a little bit of it there, but why is it important that students tap into this federal money, that students don't waste time in filling out their FAFSA and put it off? I know, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of students feel maybe a little discouraged with filling out the FAFSA because they may be hearing about all the delays and people getting their money, that they might not even get a student aid report before they're supposed to pay for their fall tuition for this year. Why is it important that we do this as students, going to school?
Right. Again, the most important thing is because this determines pretty much all money that you're eligible for, unless you apply for, maybe like a church scholarship or something with another organization. But even with that, the FAFSA helps determine what all you're qualified for, what all money is available to you. And again, it can come in so many different forms. A lot of people feel like, oh, if I apply for the FAFSA, they're just, well, they'll automatically have a list of loans for me to, apply for, and I'll have to only be able to pay by loans. And that is not true. That's a myth that we'd like to debunk today. Everybody should fill it out because you never know what you might be eligible for. You may think that you're not eligible for something, and it comes up once your student aid report is reviewed and given back to you. You can be eligible for all different types of money that can fall in any of those four categories. And I'll repeat those again. Those categories include grants, scholarships, work study, and loans.
And you kind of just talked a little bit about, some of it there, maybe debunking some myths that people may have about FAFSA. I wonder if you can sort of talk about the myths that people have around FAFSA or scholarships and going to school and paying for it. What are some things that come up when you work with students for the Maryland Higher Education Commission, that some fears or myths that they might have around paying for school?
Yeah, so some of the things that we hear is that students think that their families don't qualify. Maybe if they feel like their families make too much money or what have you. That again is definitely a myth. That's why you need to fill it out, because nothing can determine that unless the application is filled out and you go through the full process. Something else is that students feel like their grades aren't good enough. Um, all scholarships and financial aid is not merit based. So even if you don't have the best grades, if there's financial need or other circumstances there, then you can still qualify for aid. Some students think that there's not enough aid available to cover everybody or to cover their full balance that they may have at school. Once again, if you don't fill out the form, you don't know what's available, what can be covered. And also, sometimes school financial aid offices are able to help you once they know what your balance may be. They're able to help you find other scholarships and grants and opportunities for funding once they know your status. And then one of our other myths is that once you're determined the amount that you can receive for aid, that amount always stays the same. That's not true. We know and realize that things are changing every day in everybody's lives. So we are very cognizant of that. And if you feel like there's been some changes to your family status, income, etc., you can call in and get additional information on how to resubmit or revise your application to go along with those new extenuating circumstances that may have come up. And then your application can be reviewed and maybe you'll be able to qualify for additional funds.
One of the myths that you just talked about there, that the amount of money that you may get from FAFSA your first year is going to stay the same throughout all 4 years of college. I know that's not the case because that did not happen to me, and my aid fluctuated throughout my 4 years of college. At the same time, the tuition of my school fluctuated and increased every single year of my 4 years of college, and I know that that's the case for a lot of students around the country. Things are getting more expensive, and going to school is getting more expensive by the year. So I wonder, are there any conversations within the Maryland Higher Education Commission or within just higher education about possibly um, keeping, or I guess aligning federal aid or just student aid along with how, or I guess keeping student aid, keeping student aid up with the rise of tuition and all these, the cost of higher education, because things are getting more expensive, but the aid isn't. We're not getting as much aid, or the aid isn't keeping up with it at the same pace or changing at the same pace. I just wonder. I know that's a little. The way I phrased that was a little convoluted, but are there
No,
any conversations like
uh,
that happening?
I definitely understand. So, we want students to know that we are always advocating for our students, always advocating for higher education and the needs of our students and residents, to make sure that they are getting the best access and the best opportunities possible. So do know that we're always advocating and encouraging students to, of course, look in different places, and definitely visit our website, which is mhec.maryland.gov. We have several scholarships that are available to students that they may not know about. So again, if you don't fill out that FAFSA, though, we won't know what your needs are and how we can best help you to meet them. So the main message of today's whole conversation, Juan, is to make sure students get that FAFSA application in. It is still open. It is still available. There are our community colleges are doing open enrollment, so you can even still apply to get into school, even though the school session is about to start back up for the fall semester. But we really want to encourage students to get those FAFSA applications in. You can find that application again at studentaid.gov/FAFSA, and that you can find all the information you need on applying. There's videos and written instructions on how to do that. And once that application is filled out, you will get that student aid report that lists what you're eligible for and how to move forward in the application process and the funding process.
Well, that was Kristin Clarkson, Director of Communications at the Maryland Higher Education Commission. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm really enlightened as a college student by this conversation and about the FAFSA, reminding me to get mine in. So thank you for this reminder, and all of our listeners out there, people watching the show, they know a little bit more about FAFSA. Hopefully they learned something new. So I appreciate you for coming on,
Yeah.
and thank you so
Thanks for
much.
having me.
Awesome.
Have a good afternoon.
You too. Bye.